Good morning. Uh, in continuity of concurrency control, this time we shall start timestamp based ordering. Before that, in the last session we understood about the locking system. Another one is time stamp based ordering. Third one is optimistic scheduling, and fourth one is multi-version technique. So these are concurrency control techniques. So by these four methods, we can control the anomalies of concurrency. The first one is locking scheme, locking system. Better we should write locking scheme. In this locking scheme, we have already done it. We lock a particular data item, say A has to be accessed by T1. At the same time, A has to be accessed by transaction T2. So there might be a conflict, a collision of getting accessed A by T1 and T2 simultaneously, and there might be possibility of having errors in consistent database. So what happens here? In the locking scheme, there is a lock manager, a component of DBMS. This lock manager locks data item A for either T1 or T2. Here, which transaction would get the lock accessibility to A, that depends upon the first come first serve basis. Means the transaction that arrives first gets the lock on A, and another transaction is queued. So suppose T1 gets the lock on A, T1 locks it. The locking scheme is in, locking mode is in two forms. One is exclusive lock, another one is shared lock. One is exclusive lock, another one is shared lock. So if it is locked in exclusive mode, then T2 will have to wait. At the same time, suppose transaction T3 also attempts to access data item A. What would happen here? T3 would again be queued behind T2 because T2 arrived first. So what would be the situation? T1 would get the accessibility to A would be locked by transaction T1, T2 would be waiting behind T1, and T3 would be waiting behind T3. And if it is shared, it is locked in shared mode, in that case all the transactions can access A. The difference is here between exclusive lock and shared lock is that if it is locked in exclusive mode by one transaction, no other transaction can either read data item A nor write data item A. They would be waiting unless they would get the lock, unless A is lock on A is released by the previous transaction, that is T1. As soon as T1 releases the lock on data item A, T2 would get the accessibility first. Then when T2 would unlock data item A, only then T3 would get the lock on A. So this is the case of exclusive mode. So this is also known as write lock. Exclusive lock is also known as write lock. In shared mode, all the transactions that intends to lock a particular data item, every transaction would get the lock on the data item, but all the transactions can only read it. None of the transaction can write data item A. Writing is not allowed. That's why shared mode is also known as read lock. So this all happens in locking scheme. Now we shall try to know granularity of locking. Granularity of locking. What is it? Granularity of locking. Say we have a database. Okay, fine. The database might contain number of tables, relations. Now, suppose T1, T2, T3 and so many transactions attempt to access a particular data item. Now, there is a possibility here that one of the transaction might lock the entire database. One of the transaction might lock the entire database. Okay. Certainly this would avoid any kind of conflict, any kind of collision, any kind of anomaly, because the entire database has been locked. No other transaction would be able to access a particular data item. So there won't be any confusion, there won't be any conflict. So but what happens in this case? Say T1 locks data item. So this entire database has been locked. Okay. We can remove conflict approximately 100%. There won't be any conflict. But the demerit is the concurrency would be highly reduced. The concurrency would become approximately 0. And this we can't expect for a system where number of transactions is very high, quite high. Say, take the case of banks, take the case of rate reservation. In that case, we can't lock the entire database. The concurrency would be highly reduced. What would happen for the last transaction? It would enter into the condition of starvation. So, another option we have is that partition it. Partition the entire memory. Partition the entire memory. Say partition 1, partition 2. I'm sorry, this was the case of entire storage device. Sorry, this was not the case of database, rather this was the case of entire storage device. A transaction locks the entire storage device. Okay. Now, the storage device is divided into two partitions, partition 1 and partition 2. And the transaction locks one partition of the storage device. One partition. Okay. This is locked by transaction T1. So what happens in this case? Concurrency would increase. Other transactions would be able to access the partition 2. But no other transaction would be able to access data items from partition P1. This is the partition P1 and this is the partition P2. No other transaction would be able to access the partition P1. Okay, partition P2 is free. It is unlocked. Any transaction can access data items from the partition P2, but not from the partition P1 because it is locked by one transaction. So concurrency has slightly increased, not much, because so say T2 locks partition P2. It means now none of the transaction can either access P1 nor P2. None of the transaction can access either P1 or P2. So in this case, only two transactions can work concurrently. Only two transactions can work concurrently. Other transactions would be in waiting state. So another option we have here, we can partition, we can lock relations. We can lock relations, means tables. A particular partition might have number of relations, say R1, R2, R3, here, R4, R5 and so on. Now we have reduced the molecular level, means we are not locking a particular portion, rather we are locking a particular relation, a particular table. Say transaction T1 locks relation R1. What would happen then? R2, R3, R5, R4 and so on. All other relations are still unlocked. Any other transaction can lock R2, R3 and Rn. So what happened here? The concurrency has increased. Concurrency has enormously increased. Say there are in total 100 number of relations. In that case, one transaction would lock a particular relation. 99 relations could be accessed by 99 transactions. So this has increased the concurrency. Now it is not zero. Concurrency has increased. So this might happen in case the number of transactions, simultaneous operations are not much more. We may take the case of say a small retailer shop. In that case this might happen. We can lock a particular relation. But we can't afford for banking systems where number of transactions running simultaneously would increasingly high. Now what would the option now we have? The option is we don't lock a particular relation now. We enter into final level mode. Means final level means now we enter at the level of records, or we may say row, or we may say tuple. So in place of locking the entire relation, we lock a particular row of a table. Say this is a relation. If we lock the entire relation, no other transaction would be able to access a single data item from this relation. So we don't lock now the entire relation, rather we lock a particular row, that is record, or that is tuple. It means if a transaction T1 locks this row, other rows are unlocked. They are free for the accessibility by another transactions. Fine? I am repeating. In first case, we lock the entire storage device by one transaction. This makes the concurrency level 0. Then the option is locking partition. Then we might lock a relation. Okay. Now if the number of transactions, frequency of transactions is quite high, in that case locking relation is not again an option. The option is to lock a particular row, particular tuple or record. So what would happen here? Say a relation contains 1 million records or 1 lakh records, say. A transaction T1 locks one record. It means 99,999 records are still unlocked for other transactions. So the concurrency has enormously increased. But this might suit for banking systems, but this might not suit for the systems having billions of transactions per second. Say rail reservation system. In that case, this is not efficient method to lock a particular row. Then the option is to lock a particular attribute, means column. So the more finer level is locking attributes, means columns. Okay, locking a particular attribute, particular column. What happens in this case? Say there is a column salary. So any transaction that locks this column salary, then that transaction would be accessing salary column, but not other columns. Other columns are still unlocked. They are free for other transactions. Okay? Any other transaction can access another attributes. Most of the authors are of the opinion that we should stop here. But some writes that we can further go into more finer level. Of course, complexity increases, programming complexity, management, operational complexity increases. But we can lock an intersection of row and column, that is a particular cell. This is the maximum level. This gives us the maximum level of concurrency, but locking a particular cell. That is the intersection of row and column. So we start from here. Storage medium, from where we can lock a database 1, database 2. From here we can lock partitions, partition 1, partition 2, partition 3, partition 4. Okay. Partition 1 might have relation, or we also call it a record type. Relation 1, we also call it a record type. Relation 2, relation 3, relation 4, and so on. From here we can lock tuples or records, record 1, record 2, and so on. Then the more finer level is attribute 1, 2, 3, and so on. Attribute 1, and within this we might write an intersection of row and column. So this is the graphical representation of granularity of locking. Granularity of locking scheme, and it is also called DAG. DAG, directed acyclic graph. What is it called? Directed acyclic graph. Okay, I'm revising it. At the top, you might have a storage medium that might contain. So, if understand here, if there is only one database inside the storage medium, then we can start from database 1. But if a storage medium contains 2, 3, 4 databases, in that case we can write database 1, 2, 3, and so on. A database might have